All right, hello everyone. I'm about to start. Turn that down and let's begin. Make sure it works everywhere. Should be pretty good. Oh, nice. It is alive. Perfect. So, without further ado, let's get to it. So, hello everyone and welcome. Another webinar with me. So, today we're going to talk about something very specific and very practical. Not strategy, not a high level overview of automation. We're going to talk about 7 concrete errors that happen in nearly every warehouse every day and exactly how mobile automation eliminates each one of them. If you run a warehouse, manage logistics operations, or oversee inventory in any product-based business, you've definitely experienced at least 4 or 5 of these errors yourself. They are not exotic, they're not edge cases, they're the daily friction that quietly costs your business money in ways that often don't even show up cleanly in your financial reports. Um, by the end of this session, you'll have a clear picture of where these errors come from, what each one is actually costing you, and what the specific operational fix looks like in each case. And we'll back it up with real numbers from a real business that went through exactly this process. So let's get into it. So as you probably already, most of you know, I'm Stan, partner and client executive at Cleverance, over 10 years working in warehouse and inventory management automation. And before this role, I was on the ground implementing these solutions across wholesale, manufacturing, automotive, and e-commerce. So everything you'll hear today comes from real projects. These errors that I'm going to walk through are the ones I've seen in actual warehouses, and the fixes are the ones I've personally watched deliver results. So my contact details are going to be on the last slide. If anything resonates with your specific situation, reach out directly after the session. So let's keep moving. Here's what we are covering today. So we start with the real cost of warehouse errors because the size of the problem determines how seriously you should take the fix. Then we look at why these errors persist even in companies that have already invested in technology. And the core of today's session is the 7 errors themselves, each one paired with a specific operational fix mobile automation provides. We'll close with what the right platform actually looks like, how it's deployed, a real case study, and the free guide every attendee receives. So let's move to the first one. Let's set the stakes. Most operations managers I work with can tell me roughly what their pick-in error rate is, with very few of them who can actually tell me what those errors actually cost the business in total. Because the cost shows up in 4 different places, and unless you're adding all 4 together, you're undercounting. The first is lost revenue and customer dissatisfaction. So when a customer receives the wrong item, the wrong quantity, or a damaged shipment, they don't just return the order, they lose trust. Repeat purchase rates drop, they tell other customers, and in e-commerce, especially where reviews and ratings drive new sales, every shipping error has a multiplier effect that goes beyond the immediate transaction. The second is increased returns and rework. Every error generates a return process, pickup logistics, restocking labor, refund processing, and the time of the customer service team handling the complaint. Um, Industry research consistently puts the cost of a single return at $15 to $20 in pure handling costs. And that's before you factor in the loss margin on the original sale. The third is hidden labor cost. Workers spend significant time fixing problems caused by upstream errors, reconciling discrepancies, searching for misplaced items, recounting stock that the system says should be there, but it isn't. So this labor doesn't show up as error cost on any report, it shows up as a general overhead, and it's enormous. The fourth is operational inefficiency. So errors slow down everything else. A receiving mistake means the picking team can't fulfill orders correctly. A put away mistake means the next picker spends extra time searching, and errors compound through the operation. So the throughput hit is often larger than any single error category. Add it all up, and warehouse errors typically cost product based businesses between 1 and 3% of revenue. For a mid sized operation, that's six and seven figures every year. So, if the cost is this real, why do these errors keep happening, even in businesses that have already invested at least in some level of automation? Um, if the cost is so high, so why do they keep on happening? So there are four reasons to that, and they tend to compound on each other. The first is manual processes. Anywhere a worker is making a decision, transcribing a number, or relying on memory, that's a failure point. Not because workers are careless, but because human attention isn't designed for thousands of repetitive transactions per day without error. The second is paper based workflows. So, paper pick lists, paper receiving forms, paper transfer documents. Paper introduces three problems: it can be lost, it can be misread, and it creates a delay between action and recording. Every paper based step is a place where the operation and the system drift apart. The third is delayed data entry. When transactions are recorded at end of the day or end of the shift instead of at the moment of action, errors compound silently. A miscount in the morning creates downstream problems all afternoon before anyone sees the discrepancy. The fourth is lack of real time visibility. When managers can't see what's happening on the floor in real time, they can only react to problems after they have already affected the operation. Visibility is what turns a reactive operation into a proactive one, and most warehouses still don't have it. So these four factors are why simply adding hardware doesn't solve the problem. The fix has to be process level, not just equipment level. So now let's go through the specific errors and what eliminating each one actually looks like. Error number one, the most common one actually, and the one with the highest customer impact, are the mispicks. For those who don't know what that is when the wrong item gets pulled from inventory and ends up on its way to the customer. So, three drivers here. The first is wrong SKU selection. The workers grab an item that looks right, but it isn't. The second is similar product confusion. Products that come in similar packaging with similar names in adjacent locations, different sizes, different colors, different variants of the same product line. The third is human error under pressure. At peak times, when volume is highest and time pressure is intense, error rates spike. Industry data suggests warehouse picking error rates without barcode based validation typically run between 1 and 3%, as I mentioned earlier. That sounds small until you do the math. If you process 10,000 orders a month, that's 1 to 300 wrong shipments going to customers every single month. Mispicks drive returns, they drive complaints, they drive customer churn, and in a competitive market, they drive customers to competitors who get it right. Here's exactly how mobile automation eliminates this. The fix has three components. Am I on the right slide? Yeah, good. So the first one, barcode validation at the pick stage. The worker scans the item before it goes into the order. The system checks in real time whether that item matches what should be picked for this specific order. If it doesn't, the device alerts the worker immediately before the wrong item ever leaves the pick zone. Second, guided picking workflows. The mobile app tells the worker exactly which item to pick, in which quantity, from which location and in what sequence. No reliance on memory, no interpretation of a paper pick list, just a clear instruction, one step at a time. Third, real time verification. Every pick is recorded the moment it happens. Discrepancies surface immediately while the worker is still in the picking zone and able to fix the issue, not at the end of the day during reconciliation. The result consistently is a near zero picking error rate, not better, near eliminated. We'll see exact numbers from real implementation later in the session. So even when picking accuracy, even with the picking accuracy, you still need to verify what actually goes out the door. That's error number 2. And it is incorrect shipments. So this is the error that survives even when picking accuracy is okay, because the failure happens later in the process. 3 drivers. The first is wrong item shipped. Sometimes a different SKU than what was ordered. Sometimes the right SKU but the wrong size or variant. The second is missing items in orders. So multi-line orders where one or more items never made it into the box. And the third, this is the structural one. It's the absence of a final verification step. Most warehouses have no systematic check between picking and shipping. The order leaves the building based on the assumption that everything upstream was correct. The cost of an incorrect shipment is high. So industry data puts the average cost between $30 and $100 per occurrence. That includes return shipping, restocking, customer service time, and the loss margin if the customer doesn't reorder. Multiply that by the volume of orders shipped from a typical mid-sized warehouse, and the annual cost becomes quite significant. So here's how to close the gap. The fix is structured verification step at the packing stage, before the box actually leaves the building. Scan-based picking verification works like this. At the packing station, the worker scans every item as it goes into the shipping container. The system compares each scan against the order in real time. If an item is missing, the system flags it before the box is sealed. If an extra item is being added, the system flags that too. So automated shipment validation extends this. The system verifies not just the items, but also the destination address, the carrier, the weight expectations, and the packing slip, all before the shipment label is generated. Digital packing checklists replace the paper-based did you remember everything approach with a system-driven one. The packer can move on to the next order until the current one is fully verified. The combined effect is that incorrect shipments, so wrong items, missing items, misrouted packages, drop dramatically. The cost of returns drop, customer satisfaction goes up, and your customer service team stops spending its day fielding "where's my order" complaints. Now, error number 3, and this is the one that most warehouses know they have, but accept as inevitable. Let's take a look at this one. Manual inventory counting. This is the one, as I mentioned, most warehouses have essentially learned to live with. And it's costing them more than they realize. The pattern is familiar. So stock counts happen quarterly, semi-annually, or once a year because they're disruptive. They typically require shutting down operations for a day or two, or shutting down a specific section of the warehouse. Workers physically count every bin, every shelf, every location, every item. The results get reconciled against system records, variances get adjusted, and operations resume. 3 problems with this. First, infrequent stock checks mean discrepancies accumulate for months before they're actually caught. By the time the count happens, the variance is huge and the root cause is pretty much impossible to identify. Second, human miscounts in a manual process are inevitable. Counting fatigue, double counting, missed locations, every count introduces new errors even as it tries to correct old ones. Third, Data inconsistencies between the system and the physical reality mean the ERP shows numbers that don't match what's actually on the shelf, which means buyers reorder based on inaccurate data. Again, customer service quotes wrong availability and operations plan against fiction. So, once again, we're getting customer complaints at the very least. So, the annual stock count is a band aid for a problem that needs a continuous solution. And here's what continuous looks like. The fix is to replace the periodic count with a continuous one, and to make every transaction in the warehouse update inventory in real time. Continuous cycle counting means small portions of the warehouse get counted regularly, daily or weekly, by workers using mobile devices without disrupting normal operations. Over the course of a month or a quarter, the entire warehouse gets covered. Discrepancies are caught quickly while they're small and while the cause is still identifiable. Mobile inventory updates mean every transaction on the floor, every receipt, every pick, every transfer, every adjustment flows directly into the inventory system at the moment it happens. There's no end of the day batch update. There's no paper that gets keyed in tomorrow morning. Livestock visibility means managers, buyers, and customer service can see actual inventory levels at any moment, not yesterday's numbers now, today. The combined result is reduced discrepancies, not zero because nothing is perfect, but dramatically smaller and continuously self correcting. And no more annual 2 day shutdown for stock counts. Now, error number 4. This one is about what happens when goods first arrive at the warehouse. So, receiving mistakes, that's what it is. And this one matters more than most warehouses realize because every error at receiving cascades through the rest of the operation. 3 drivers. First, incorrect quantities recorded. The supplier sends 95 units, the receiving worker records 100. From that moment, the system is wrong, and everything that depends on the system is wrong with it. Second, wrong items accepted. The supplier sends a similar but not identical SKU, and the worker either doesn't notice or accepts it without flagging. Third, lack of verification. There's no systematic check that what arrived matches what was ordered against the purchase order. So, this compound effect is significant. A receiving error doesn't just generate one problem, it generates problems in stock counts, in available to promise calculations, in supplier performance reporting, and in financial reconciliation. And because the error happened upstream, by the time it's discovered downstream, tracing it back to the original cause is often impossible. So, receiving is the front door of your warehouse data. If the front door isn't tight, nothing inside the building is reliable. Here is the fix. The fix is to make receiving a controlled, scanned, and validated process. At the moment goods arrive, not later. Let me just adjust my height here. There we go. That's much better. So, scan upon receipt means every item is scanned as it comes off the truck or out of the container. The barcode is read, the SKU is identified, and the system immediately checks it against the expected purchase order. Automated quantity validation means the worker enters or scans the actual quantity received, and the system compares it in real time against the order quantity. Within the acceptable tolerance, the receipt proceeds. Outside the tolerance, the system flags it for review before anything is recorded. So instant discrepancy alerts close the loop. If the wrong item arrives, if the quantity is off, if the batch number doesn't match, the worker sees an alert immediately. Not at the end of the day. So, not when the supplier invoice is reconciled, but at the receiving dock while the truck is still there and the issue can be addressed. The result is that receiving data going into your ERP is accurate from the start, which means everything downstream operates on solid ground. Error number 5, after receiving, where does the inventory go? Let's take a look at that. So put away mistakes. After goods are received, they need to be moved to storage, and this is where many operations quietly lose huge amounts of productivity. Three drivers here as well. First one, items stored in wrong locations. Without a guided process, workers put goods wherever there is space, which means the system thinks that the item is in one bin and the actual item is in another. Second, no location validation. The worker doesn't scan the destination to confirm it matches what the system expects, so any error goes unrecorded. Third, time lost searching. When picks happen later and the item isn't where the system says it is, workers spend significant time hunting for it. I've worked with warehouses where workers were spending 2 to 3 hours per shift just searching for products that the system said should be in one location, but they were actually somewhere else. 2 to 3 hours per shift per worker. You can do the math, but multiply that by the size of the team. That's pure productivity loss with no operational benefit whatsoever. So Um, the fix is directed put away, meaning the system tells the worker exactly where each item should go, and it verifies that they put it there specifically. Directed put away via mobile devices works like this. So after receiving, the worker scans an item, and the device displays the optimal storage location for that item, based on factors like product velocity, available space, and of course, storage rules. The worker doesn't have to decide where it goes. The system has already decided for him. Location barcode validation means the worker scans the destination location upon arrival. The system verifies that this is the correct location before allowing the put away to be confirmed. If the worker tries to put the item somewhere else, wrong location, full bin, expired location, the system just blocks it. That's it. So smart storage rules add intelligence even on top of all of this. Fast moving items closer to picking zones, hazardous materials in designated areas, expiry sensitive products in zones with appropriate rotation, large items in suitable spaces. The system optimizes placement automatically instead of relying on the worker's judgment. The result is that every item is exactly where the system says it is. Picking gets faster, searching gets eliminated, capacity utilization improves. So error number 6 is what happens when traceability breaks down. The system has already decided. So lost or misplaced items. And this one is the cumulative result of all the previous errors compounding. Three drivers here again. First, poor tracking. When movements within the warehouse aren't recorded systematically, the system loses track of where things actually are. An item moves from one bin to another, um, gets repacked, gets temporarily set aside during a peak shift, and if those movements aren't captured, the item effectively becomes invisible. Second, manual updates. When location changes depend on worker remembering to update the system later, those updates often don't happen. Third is the lack of traceability. There's no audit trail showing where an item has been, who handled it, and what happened to it at each stage. And the financial impact here is pretty real. Inventory write offs for items that exist somewhere in the building but can't be located. The operational impact is bigger. Workers spending hours searching, customer orders getting delayed because the system says the item is available but no one can find it, and the loss of trust in the system itself, which leads workers to stop relying on it and create their own informal tracking systems. The fix is end to end traceability. Every movement, every transaction, every handoff captured automatically. Real time movement tracking means whenever an item moves from receiving to a bin, from one bin to another, from storage to picking, from picking to packing, from packing to shipping, all of that movement is recorded the moment it happens. No delay, no batching, no manual update. Scanning at every step means each handoff requires a scan. The worker scans the item, the source location, the destination location, and the system records the complete chain. So a complete audit trail means at any moment for any item or order, you can see its full history: when it arrived, where it was placed, when it was moved, by whom, and where it currently is. If something goes wrong, you can trace it back to the exact step. If someone needs to investigate a discrepancy, the data is right there. The result is that nothing in the warehouse is invisible to the system. Lost item scenarios become rare exceptions instead of a recurring problem. And the seventh error, the one that underlies many of the others, um, is the paper-based processes. And this one is foundational because paper underlies many of these errors we've already discussed today. So let's go through the three drivers again. First, slow data entry. Every paper-based step requires someone to eventually transcribe the information into the system. That transcription is a time cost and error prone. Second, delayed updates. The gap between when an action happens on the floor and when it's reflected into the system can be hours or even days. During that gap, the system is wrong, and everything depending on it is wrong too. Third, high error rates. Handwriting can be misread, forms can be incomplete, paper can get lost, numbers can be transposed. If your warehouse still runs on any meaningful amount of paper, pick lists, receiving forms, transfer documents, count sheets, you don't just have a paper problem, you have an error generation system embedded in your operation. Going paperless isn't just about saving paper. It's um, the fix is essentially going fully paperless. So the impact is bigger than most operations expect. Okay, there we go. Digital workflows mean every operation that previously ran on paper now runs through a mobile application. The pick list is on the device, the receiving form is on the device, the transfer document is on the device, the worker interacts with structured screens that prompt for the right information at the right time in the right sequence. Instant data synchronization means everything captured on the device flows into the business system immediately. No transcription, no batching, no paper sitting in an in tray waiting to be entered tomorrow. So improved productivity and accuracy is the combined result. Workers spend less time on administrative tasks. Errors from transcription and lost paper disappear. The system always reflects current reality. And the management team finally gets a real time view of what's happening on the floor. The transaction to paperless is often what unlocks the value from all the other improvements we've discussed today. Because every other fix depends on data flowing reliably between the warehouse and the system, paper is the layer where that flow completely breaks. So, what does the platform that delivers all this actually look like? Let's bring it all together. We're now we've now walked through seven specific errors and the specific fix for each one. Let me tell you what's true. Every single one um, of those fixes depend on the same underlying capability set. You can't address them one at a time with seven different tools. You need a single platform that does all of this together. And this is where we come in. Mobile workflows for real operations, guided processes that walk workers through each task from start to finish. Embedded business logic, validation, exception handling, and document controls built into the application, not added later. Online and offline support, so full functionality regardless of connectivity. So the warehouse never stops because of a Wi Fi drop or a bad spot in the warehouse. Fast integration with enterprise systems, clean, real time data flow with your ERP or WMS without permanent integration headaches. Flexibility across multiple use cases, one platform that covers receiving, picking, shipping, stock counting, put away, and much, much more. Not seven different tools. Control, visibility, and growth potential, scalability, management dashboards, exception reporting, and the ability to scale without re platforming. When all six are present, the seven errors we discussed today are addressable in one coherent system. When any of them is missing, you have a gap. So, and here's what that system looks like in operation. Let's take a look at that. This is where the end state. That's what the end state look like. And look at both sides of the image because they represent essentially two different roles. On the left, we have a warehouse worker, mobile device in hand, no paperwork. Every task is guided by the application. Scan, confirm, move on. The seven errors we've discussed are systematically prevented at the moment of action because the worker can't make those mistakes when the system won't allow him to do that. On the right, the operations manager, somebody sitting at the back office or just anywhere in the world at the computer, being able to see what's happening on the warehouse floor completely remotely. So it's a real-time view of everything that's happening on the actual floor. So active orders, completed tasks, exceptions flagged for review, not a report from yesterday. Now, between them is the technology layer, of course. On-site verification, real-time data exchange, accurate ERP document status, the warehouse and the business system operating as a single integrated whole. This is what eliminating warehouse errors actually looks like in practice. And here's what it means in cost terms. Let me put the numbers on this because at some point the conversation has to come back to ROI. This table compares the operational cost of 5 different approaches. And by operational cost, I mean the fully loaded cost of managing inventory and warehouse operations, including labor, not just software price. Manual checking is paper, spreadsheets, visual counts, costs approximately 10K per month for a mid-sized warehouse, which accumulates to around 120K per year. Most of that is labor on slow, error-prone processes. Excel and Google Sheets bring it to about 8,000 per month. Regarding is digitized, the manual work is still there. A USB barcode scanner used as a keyboard input, it does drop it to about 4,000. A basic barcode app with lookup but no real workflow logic comes in around 2,500. And then we have Cleverance, a complete guided platform with validation, ERP integration, exception handling, and the workflow design we've discussed today. Brings everything down to approximately $1,000 per month. That's a 90% reduction. So 9,000 saved per month, which is around 108K saved per year. For most mid-sized businesses, the payback on this transition is measured in months, not years. So let me show you the products that make up the Cleverance platform. Cleverance isn't a single product, as most of you probably know. It's a suite of 5 purpose-built solutions on one common platform, each designed for a specific operational context. Cleverance Inventory is the flagship, most relevant for wholesale, distribution, and manufacturing operations. It covers the complete warehouse lifecycle: goods arrival, pick and ship, stock taking, location transfers, bin level placement. This is where most implementations start and where the 7 areas we discussed today are addressed directly. Store ops is built for retail, so goods receiving, stock taken on the shop floor, repricing, and e-commerce order picking from physical retail locations. Delivery ops automates last mile delivery, so routing, delivery confirmation, and payment collection via smartphone. Factory ops handles inventory movement within production environments, raw materials, work in progress, finished goods. And assets handles fixed asset inventory, so equipment, tools, IT hardware, vehicles, using barcodes and RFID. 5 products, 1 platform. You start with the one that addresses your most pressing pain today and expand to others as the business grows. And here's the foundation under all 5 products. The Cleverance Core Platform, software for business process automation, specifically built for businesses that deal with physical goods. The 4 pillars map directly to what eliminates the 7 areas we covered today. Mobile and connected devices. So smartphones, tablets, rugged handhelds, put the automation layer in workers' hand wherever they are. Barcode and RFID technology provides fast, reliable identification, the foundation for picking validation, receiving verification, location tracking, and everything else we've discussed. Real time data integration with existing ERP systems means that every transaction flows automatically into the business system. No batching, no reconciliation. Customizable workflows allow the platform to adapt to your specific processes without long custom development. This is the low code configurability that makes the platform fit your operation rather than forcing your operation to fit the platform. Together, these four pillars are what makes the seven error elimination not a theoretical promise but a deliverable result. So, what does getting this live in your business actually looks like? Um, the implementation process has 5 steps, designed to move quickly without sacrificing fit. It starts with a pre-sale brief, a focused conversation where you share your specific situation, so your ERP, your operation, the errors you're trying to eliminate, like your specific issue that you're trying to fix, essentially. If you know that it's there, otherwise we can also help identify it. Then join a dedicated project chat with a personal project manager assigned from day one. Direct communication, not ticketing. If your start date is within 2 weeks, we're on a demo tailored to your specific ERP and operational scenario, using your document types and your not generic ones. Then comes a personalized commercial offer based on your actual project scope, and finally, project implementation. Deployment, configuration, go live with your project manager alongside you throughout. Structured, personal, and designed to get you from first conversation to live system without unnecessary delay. So, and let me close with a real example, a UAE business that went through exactly this process and saw exactly these results. Um, APMG is a spare parts e-commerce operator based in Dubai. If you've bought auto parts online in the UAE, there's a good chance you've used their operation. Their warehouse manages over 100,000 SKUs across a split storage environment. Bulky items like windshields in one section, addressed bin storage for smaller parts in the other. Um, in this case, we had 17 workers at the time of implementation, a custom ERP, and a familiar set of problems. Before Cleverance, they were experiencing every single one of the 7 errors we discussed today. So mispicks were happening regularly because of similar product confusion across thousands of automotive parts. Incorrect shipments were generating returns and customer complaints. So stock counts were disruptive and frequently inaccurate. Receiving errors cascaded into downstream operations. Put away mistakes meant pickers wasted hours searching. Items got lost, and paper-based processes were everywhere, slowing everything down and introducing errors at every transcription point. Their order processing was too slow. Their picking was error prone, and they had a lot of issues with locations, the way their ERP system handled the locations. So the implementation was Cleverance on specifically here with Zebra mobile devices, mobile computers, 17 devices, 17 licenses, integrated directly with their custom ERP. So every operation we've talked about today, receiving, picking, packing, put away, stock counting, traceability, moved to the handheld and went paperless. The results: inventory turnover ratio increased by 4 times, storage capacity expanded by 10,000 square meters without proportional headcount growth, and staff error rate dropped by 99%. That last figure deserves a moment. So, a warehouse with 17 workers handling 100,000 SKUs, error rates dropped by 99%. Not improved, near eliminated. So, this is what addressing the 7 errors as a system, not as individual problems, actually delivers. So, let me wrap up with your next step. Before we go on, I want to make good on what I mentioned at the start. So every attendee today will receive a free PDF guide, 5 stages of increase in ROI in warehouse automation. It maps the operational maturity stages, gives you a self-assessment tool just like we talked about, to identify those issues and outline the specific steps to move forward. It'll come through to the email you registered with. So watch your inbox. And if you want to take the next step beyond the guide, a real conversation about your operation, your ERP, or whatever the issue you might be having, or at least already started to think that you have to look and dig a little bit deeper into your operations based on today's session. My contact details are on the next slide. Let me switch to that one. So this is where we'll end. So my name is Stan, partner in client solution executive at Cleverance. The phone number is there. You can contact me on Telegram, send me an email, WhatsApp, whichever. It's all there. So as I mentioned, if anything in today's session resonated, if you recognize your warehouse in any of the 7 areas that we walked through, I'll genuinely like to hear about it. To be honest, not even trying to sell you something, just trying to understand your situation and tell you honestly what eliminating those errors would look like for your specific business. The website is cleverance.com. Product documentation, case studies, demo requests are all there. You can also hit the trial link and you can essentially, from our end, we create automatically a cloud-based system for you. Like the backend, you can upload your Excel files, your data, and test out the system, even connected to a mobile device, which is really nice. So you can test it out as well for free. That's about it. Thank you for your time today. If anything, drop anything in comments. I'll kind of keep this running for a couple more minutes. But that's about it. So thank you very much. Enjoy the time of the day where you're currently at. We're in a bit later times in Dubai. So that's it. Thank you so much. And I hope everyone has a great time of their day. All right. Ciao. Bye bye.